Hey guys, Martin here bringing you another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video. And so yesterday I did a video talking about what we are expecting to be upcoming on Global very soon. But today I wanted to talk a little bit about JP and the potential for the next Dokkan Fest that's going to be releasing for that version at the beginning of April. Both units, of course, are going to be getting new celebrations as we come out of Saiyan Day. As we talked about yesterday, right, the global one should be Super Sentai Goku and Hirudegarn. Go check out that video for all the details about what's coming up with that celebration, like the new events and the Easy A's and everything. But there is the possibility that JP could get the physical Rosé Goku Black, right? He was a Dokkan, it was a global first for Dokkan. And is going to have to come out on JP at some point. And the interesting thing is, a lot of people, you know, very harshly critiqued this guy. He was very good for Global when he came out, of course, because being in the meta that Global is still in, he's very good against Fusion Zamasu and Omega, especially having that extra damage reduction before he attacks, right? Makes him very good against AoEs. But Super Bosses is kind of a weird team on Global. He certainly has some interesting extra options if you're running him on the JP version. But I thought it would be kind of interesting to talk about this because, of course, every single time there's an upcoming Dokkan Fest on JP and this guy hasn't come out yet, we could talk about the possibility of him being the Dokkan Fest that's going to come out to fill that slot. Because we know he's coming at some point, and he's going to release on JP. We would assume, you know, he's got to come out realistically before the worldwide celebration for JP, because the worldwide celebration is ideally when they're going to then sync the schedules of the games, because they announced in that global producer letter thing there was going to be summer 2024. Pretty much means, right, the worldwide celebration. So post worldwide celebration, the release schedules should be the same for both versions, which means Rosé does have to come out before then. But there is something interesting, I think, that could lend itself to this guy coming out very soon for JP. And this takes us to looking at the schedule and kind of what we know happens between JP and Global in the upcoming months. So if we take a look at, we're using last year's schedule. So once the anniversary wraps up at the end of February, going over into the beginning of March, I think the last thing that came out as part of the anniversary on last year was the obviously the Easy A's at the end and then the anniversary event. So there was a little bit of a gap with no content, and that's when they then dropped the STR 17s. And of course, in this time slot this year, the Dokkan Fest that JP got at the beginning of March was the AGL First Form Frieza. So this guy came out on the 5th of March 2024, so basically that same time slot. And we know that when it comes to Global, we will get this unit in the time slot before the anniversary, right? So we always have a Dokkan Fest that came out after the anniversary on JP, comes out right before the anniversary on Global. This unit is super interesting. He can hit super hard. I think he can be really good. But his defense isn't the craziest. His leader skill isn't the craziest. So I think for a lot of people on Global, as he is right before the anniversary, he's probably going to be an easy skip for a lot of people. But he's a fun unit for sure. But we're not really talking about summoning for Frieza. We are focusing on the JP side. But the interesting thing is this guy comes out. And then the other thing that comes out before the anniversary is if we take a look at the JP timeline. So the beginning of April, this is the time slot that we're speculating for this video that this is where Rosé could potentially drop, right? This unit comes out on the 1st of April. Global should be expecting ours on the 1st or 2nd as well. And then, as we know from the Kale celebration, Kale had a Part 2 LR that was very much unrelated to her, right? I think he might be on one of her leader skills because I think he's on Transformation Boost, right? But not good for her team, not a buff for her. Very disappointing when Dokkan does this and they release these new units. And then not only did she not get a side banner unit that was particularly great for her, like this absolutely should have been a Caulifla. But then, yeah, she gets a Part 2 LR that has got basically nothing to do with her, and then a couple of Gotenks Easy A's. So none of these were particularly helpful. Now, the thing about this and how this pertains to Rosé is if we take a look over on the global timeline, I just pulled up where Kale came out. So this is in August. This is much further down the timeline, way after the anniversary. But if we jump back to, it'll be June, I guess. So it comes under the 7th anniversary one, apparently, June 2023. So I guess it goes back to the end of May, I suppose. End of May. So I remember Golden Week takes up most of May. So this is the Part 2 LR for Golden Week. And then we had some extra Easy A's. free-to-play stuff. And then for us, STR 17 on Global came out on the 31st of May. Because Golden Week for both versions is going to kick in mid to end of April. And then Golden Week, you can see here the part 1 Golden Week banners came out on the 28th. So basically the end of April. We're both getting a Dokkan Fest in this time slot. And then if this is for Global, this is where we got Yamcha. But yeah, we both get the Golden Week. And then we go into the next stuff in May. Now, you can see, if we go back to here before we end up getting to... this is the part 2 LR for Golden Week. Then we had the STR 17s come out end of May. And then June is the last month before the anniversary. This is where Super Boo came out. So basically, the part 2 LR from the April celebration on JP is what is the very final thing that comes out on Global before the anniversary. Now, you might be saying to yourselves, well, Rosé did not have a part 2 LR, so how does he fit into this time slot? But one of the things that I've seen a lot of people talking about on the timeline, someone mentioned it in the stream earlier today, and it's kind of a meme in and of itself, right? Is that a lot of the time, when Global has gotten stuff first or gotten stuff early, when JP then gets that same stuff, they get extra stuff with it as well. Like I think Hit was a Global first, and then when he came out on JP, his celebration had a bunch of extra like Awakenings and Easy A's and stuff like that. And so that is something that we have seen happen in the past. And the reason why I think this could work quite well here is because we're not taking up a full celebration slot. We're only using like the part 2 LR part, right? Because in the grand scheme of things, the reason why Global getting a Global first is helpful for the overall plan to sync the games is they didn't replace a celebration on Global with Rosé. They just kind of snuck him in between 2 other celebrations that basically took place when we expected them to. So Global got something extra without losing out on any progress, whereas JP will of course have to get Rosé instead of getting something new that Global doesn't have. Now, if JP was to get a random Dokkan Fest on the beginning of April and then a part 2 LR as we would expect, that would be 2 things that Global doesn't have. And leading up to the anniversary, that very final thing before the anniversary would be multiple things that Global doesn't have, followed by something else Global still doesn't have afterwards. Whereas if we go by this timeline, if JP gets a random part 2 LR as part of the Rosé celebration, it could be an LR Kefla. People will kind of expect or hoping for, you know, when we ended up getting the Kefla Easy A, if they still package all of those Universe 6 Easy A's with Rosé's celebration when it does come out on JP, we could get an LR Kefla, or it could be something related to Rosé. It could be a Super Bosses LR, it could be a Future Saga LR. Something straight away off the top of my head that I think would be awesome, because I would really like to see a newer version of this character or this unit, is an LR Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta that has the super attack where he's beating down Rosé into the ground, right? Because we have the Int Dokkan Fest from a long time ago that has a very old and outdated super attack animation of that particular part of the fight, but it's super old and super like outdated now, right? So a new version of that would be super cool. And so what that would mean is, if we think about the global schedule, is that the Frieza would come out before the anniversary as the last Dokkan Fest exclusive, that you know, the first one that came out after the anniversary for JP. Currently, because we've had Saiyan Day, Frieza is the only Dokkan Fest exclusive, if we're not counting the anniversary, right? But Frieza is the only Dokkan Fest exclusive that is out on JP that isn't out on Global. So if at the beginning of April JP gets Rosé, we get her, and Hirudegarn and Super Saiyan 3 Goku, of course, because they are about to come out. So if JP gets Rosé, Global gets Super Saiyan 3 Goku and Hirudegarn, that means JP is still only ahead of Global by the Frieza. And then if Frieza comes out as the last Dokkan Fest leading up to the anniversary, which as we see here is basically the end of May. So Frieza comes out in this time slot here, going towards the end of May as Golden Week has wrapped up, which is all same time. So again, JP not ahead. Frieza comes out here. Then we move into June. And then whichever this part 2 LR, let's just say it is a Blue Vegeta. This LR Blue Vegeta comes out here. That will be the only other unit that JP has that Global doesn't have. So when we go into the anniversary, Global will essentially have everything that is out on JP aside from the anniversary units, except for the only final thing, of course, is when we go on to JP, they have their Part 2 LR, then end of April we go into Golden Week, as we know. Then if we go and look at May, as we've already seen, we take up most of May with Golden Week, and then Turles comes out at the end of May for JP. So then we move into June, and June for JP is just the rest of the Turles celebration. There's the Part 2 LR, there's a World Tournament, and then of course JP gets the Tanabata celebration as Global starts to move into the countdown to the anniversary. So what that means is the unit that comes out at the end of May, so in this instance it was Turles, and then his Part 2 LR, once we move into the anniversary for Global, those will be the only things that Global doesn't have. That will be one celebration that Global will be behind JP. Now, of course, the Tanabata is a huge issue at the moment to think about when it comes to syncing the timelines. We've talked about this a bunch on the Slot 1 Super podcast, mentioned this in other videos and stuff as well, but if they are aiming to sync the timelines by the worldwide celebration, the Tanabata unit comes out after the worldwide for Global, which would mean that when we get to like November, if we take a look at last year, in fact, when we get to November, JP, we get Heroes, Global got Super Saiyan 4 Goku, I think afterwards. No, because we all got 21 at the same time, so they got him first. So that would be essentially where we're getting this end of October release on JP. This is where Gohan and Piccolo came out. So if this was, you know, now that we're acting like we're post worldwide, right? So everything is synced. A unit coming out on the 31st of October for both versions, then we move into Global and we get to November. And oh, of course the wiki hasn't been updated, which is a shame. I guess we can go to, how do we do this on here? I guess we just bring up the Super Saiyan 4 Goku from here. But yeah, so if a unit's coming out at the very end of October, but then for Global, the Tanabata unit was releasing on the 3rd of November. So they're not going to release a new Dokkan Fest exclusive and then drop a Dokkan Fest exclusive LR with its own celebration 3 or 4 days later, right? That would be insane unless they just give out tons of free stones or something, which I don't see happening. So the Tanabata really throws a wrench into the works here. But if Rosé comes out as the next Dokkan Fest on JP and then has an extra added in Part 2 LR, who knows? They could just do exactly what they did with Kale, and the Part 2 LR could have absolutely nothing to do with Rosé or anything in his celebration, just like Super Boo being the LR for Kale. Then that would lead to Global getting Frieza and that Part 2 LR before the anniversary, and we will only be one Dokkan Fest exclusive and one Part 2 LR behind JP when we move into the anniversary. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Do you think Rosé could be coming to JP next? Do you think he will have a bonus Part 2 LR or any other bonus content? Or do you think it will just be a brand new unit with a Part 2 LR, hopefully related, and then Rosé is going to come out at some point later on? Let me know what you guys think is going to happen down below in the comment section. But we will see the Dokkan Fest teaser on Twitter, as well as there's going to be an upcoming data download. The teaser could be as early as tomorrow, and I believe the data download is on Friday. So potentially we will know for sure within the next 24 hours, maybe even by Friday morning at the latest. So let me know all your guys' thoughts down below in the comment section. If you are a JP player, are you excited for Rosé? I feel like he does get a bad rep and is better than some people think he is, even though he is definitely very wonky, very odd design, but I do think he gets underrated. So let me know your thoughts on Rosé down below in the comment section. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below for the Discord and the merch store, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.